Hello. It's good to see you. Today, I would love to show you this little booklet. I found this just today in Goodwill, and they weren't sure what to charge me for it because it's very small. They didn't want to charge me like like a paperback book. They ended up just letting me have it. They said I could just take it. They gave it to me. I said thank you. It was very nice. This is a little booklet from the Division of Reading, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. And it's about reading and classroom cooking. We have a few little sections that we can read, and then we can look at some classroom cooking recipes. Just some simple little recipes that teachers could do with their students. It looks like there was a little scribble. Somebody did some math on the cover. While I was there, they also had some Halloween candy up near the registers. They have these little packets of Peeps, and I thought it would be fun to sample some Peeps candies. We're not going to do that today. I want to see if I can find any more Halloween themed Peeps, but we have some little Peeps pumpkins, little marshmallows with a happy face, and there are 3 pumpkins in here. So I got Peeps pumpkins, Peeps ghosts. It's 3 little ghosts in here. I've tried these and they're actually quite yummy. And finally I got a packet of Peeps monsters. Look at that little monster. It's smiling. And we have 3 green Peeps marshmallow monsters. I think the ghosts are the only ones I've tried. I might have tried the pumpkins. I don't remember. But they all do taste a little bit different, just like the Peeps at Easter time. They're all a little bit different. But I'm going to look around at some other stores before we do a taste test of Peeps. I want to see if I can find any more. I think there's at least one other type of Halloween Peep. I'm going to see if I can find it. Express your Peepsonality. I love Peeps, and we might also sample some super stale Peeps that I've had in the cabinet for way too long. They're probably hard as a rock. Okay, but that has nothing to do with this. I just had to show you that. I thought those were cute. We're going to read about reading and classroom cooking. The Division of Reading created this booklet. We have an introduction to the booklet. Look at this. There once was a teacher who taught in a school. She had so many children she didn't know what to do. That doesn't rhyme. Then she opened her classroom so each child could find his way to materials, games, and cooking that made him want to work instead of play. There are many reading skills that may be taught through cooking activities and can bring a new dimension to your classroom. Cooking exercises may provide the following list: opportunities for oral communication, an increase in written and oral vocabulary, a natural learning situation, experiences which may later become the basis for a story, an extended interest in reading, first-hand experiences, opportunities of real-life reading skills, activities which have real meaning, opportunities for using reading skills in a practical way, an increase in children's basic sight vocabulary, opportunities to practice reading skills such as following written directions, sequencing, predicting outcomes, comparing and contrasting, drawing conclusions, making inferences, and cause and effect. I forgot to mention it's raining here. It might pick up and you might hear rain in the background. We have a short little table of contents here. We have sections for sweets, breads, meats, recipes for modeling clay, finger paints, etc., other recipes, other activities, and selected books for cooking with children. Not like with children for the ingredient, but you know, that's what it says, cooking with children. Okay, we're not Hansel and Gretel. Okay. Reading and classroom cooking. Cooking and baking are exciting activities for the classroom. The senses are involved, the practical experience is real, and the entire process is fun. As children cook, there are natural opportunities for them to develop concepts such as air, heat, number, measurement, volume, and language development, as well as the skill of cooking. They also learn about new food combinations, marketing, kitchen safety, food properties, new processes such as mixing, whipping, following directions, working in sequence, nutrition, table manners. The possibilities for learning are endless. Before you get out the pots and pans, the following suggestions may help to make the cooking experience more fun for you and your children. Set up some basic ground rules for safety, such as only adults set dials on oven, stove, or hot plate. Keep pan handles turned away from activity area. Children can hold hot pans or stir hot preparations only if they use pot holders and if an adult is next to them. Only adults take hot things out of the oven or off the stove. Discuss procedures for chopping, paring, dicing, and so on. The adult should tackle the hard-to-chop foods. Stress the need for following basic cleanliness rules such as scrubbing hands, using clean utensils, wearing an apron, smock, or old shirt, cleaning up detail. Involve a large group of children when process is simple and the product quickly obtained, such as mixing Jell-O with hot water and ice cubes. For longer processes with more involved processes, limit the number of children. Ask parents or older students to help. Make simple illustrated charts that show the steps to be taken in the process. Give the children copies of recipes to keep, which can become their personal cookbook. Emphasize the fun that both boys and girls can have in preparing food. Discourage remarks which imply that cooking is for girls. Some of the most innovative cooks in the world have been men. Bring in proof from cookbooks or an encyclopedia to show reluctant boys that cooking can be fun. Also, you may invite a male chef from a local restaurant. There are problems you have to get around. Be creative. Number 1, cramped for space. Find a corner and limit the number of children and give some children a chance to watch. Number 2, set up a hot plate or electric fry pan or a small oven in an uncluttered corner. Do not forget what can be done with corn poppers, waffle irons, and other appliances. If you do not have an oven, perhaps the person in the school cafeteria will bake the food the children have made. Number 3, no budget. Explore all fundraising possibilities and ask for volunteer donations. All basic ingredients should be kept in a central location and in easy reach. Even with limitations of improvised cooking centers, your children can have lots of fun with food. Collect recipes which are inexpensive and have many of the same basic ingredients. You may want to send a list of needed supplies to parents and ask for donations. When a group of children are cooking, be sure the food they cook is shared with the entire class. Also, sharing the finished product provides an opportunity for children to learn the correct procedure in serving food. A child who cooks counts the eggs and teaspoons that go into his mixture. He is meeting fractions in a non-threatening way, so when he learns about them formally in grade school, he feels comfortable about the concept. By varying the measurements in a recipe, We give children a number of different counting experiences. For instance, sometimes instead of saying add 1 tablespoon, we use its equivalent, 3 teaspoons. Instead of 1/8 of a cup, we sometimes ask for 2 tablespoons. Ingredients provide some of cooking's most valuable lessons. Many children think milk comes from a carton, and many have never seen peas in a pod, squeezed a lemon, or broken open a coconut. Try to use ingredients in their natural state whenever possible. Some recipes call for a beaten egg or chopped onion. Let some of the children do the breaking, beating, and chopping. Then leave the egg shell and onion top around so that other children can see where the ingredients originally come from. If you use a processed ingredient such as orange concentrate, be sure to tell the children what fruit it comes from and have an orange around for them to examine. Some children do not think in abstract terms, so they do not always make what seems like obvious connections. While there is a place for mixes when cooking with children, I didn't know they had a mix for that. It is best not to lean too heavily on them. Mixes are nice for shortening a good recipe when it is too long. A child who uses ingredients in their natural state acquires an understanding of what food looks like before it is canned, dried, frozen, or concentrated and put on the grocery shelf, and makes this prepackaged world make more sense to him. In summary, cooking with children is fun, educational, social, constructive, and not an unreasonable burden for the teachers with hundreds of demands on their time. For the child, he shares a grown-up activity with a favorite adult and has added an added bonus of something very special to eat at the end. Purpose. Before any cooking activity is begun, a purpose should be established. The purpose might be, number 1, an extension of a story. For example, if the story The Gingerbread Man has been read, a follow-up activity could be each child actually making a gingerbread man. Number 2, a science experiment such as turning solids to liquids, making peanut brittle. Number 3, a way of teaching students to follow directions or the importance of accurate measurement. And number 4, to make refreshments for a party you are having for parents. And now we're going to go over a list of cooking terms. We have cooking terms. Bake, cook in oven. Beat means to mix over and over with a spoon or fork, or round and round with a beater. Blend is to mix thoroughly 2 or more ingredients. Boil is to cook in liquid in which bubbles break on the surface. Broil, cook directly under heating unit in range. Chop is to cut into pieces with a knife or a chopper. Cube is to cut into 1/4 or 1/2-inch squares. Dice is to cut into very small 1/4-inch squares. Dot is to drop bits of butter or cheese here and there over food. Drain is to pour off liquid. Flour, dust greased pans with flour until well coated. Grate, rub food against grater to cut into small pieces. Grease, spread bottom and sides of pan with shortening. Knead, work dough with your hands by pressing forward and turning motion repeating several times. Melt is to heat until liquid. Mince is to chop or cut into tiny pieces. Pare is to cut off outside skin, as from an apple or a potato. Peel is to pull or cut off the outer skin. Roll out is to flatten with a rolling pin. Shred is to cut into very thin strips. Sift is to put through flour sifter or a fine sieve. Simmer is to cook in liquid almost boiling, but not hot enough to bubble. Stir is to mix round and round with a spoon. Whip is to beat with rotary egg beater or an electric mixer to add air. And now we get into the recipes. The first section we have is sweets. The first recipe is for granola, a health food which is sold as a snack and a breakfast cereal. It is much more economical to make. This would make a wonderful snack to have in the classroom for those times when children are hungry for just a bit of something to hold them till lunch. And here are the ingredients for the granola. You will need 4 cups of rolled oats, a 1/4 cup of wheat germ, a 1/2 cup of coconut, a 1/2 cup of honey, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of oil. Mix the above ingredients with clean hands. Spread on a cookie sheet and bake at 325 degrees for 30 minutes, or until it looks and tastes toasty. For better granola, you may add one or all of the following ingredients before baking: pumpkin seeds, almonds, peanuts, walnuts, pecans. After baking, bits of dried fruits such as raisins, apples, or prunes may be added. The next recipe is for holly and berries. For holly and berries, you need 1 medium box of cornflakes, 1 stick of margarine, 30 large marshmallows. Melt margarine and add green food coloring. Stir in cornflakes. Drop quickly on wax paper and then add red hots. Leave uncovered 24 hours. And then we have marshmallow treats. I love these. You will need a 1/4 cup of margarine, 1 6 to 10 ounce package of marshmallows, about 40, or 4 cups of miniature marshmallows, 5 cups of Rice Krispies cereal. Melt margarine in 3-quart saucepan over low heat. Add marshmallows and cook, stirring constantly until marshmallows are melted and mixture is very syrupy. Remove from heat. Add Rice Krispies and stir until well coated. Spread warm mixture in a greased 13 by 9 by 2 inch pan. Using waxed paper or buttered spatula, press firmly into an even layer. Cut into squares when cool. Down here we have a recipe for ginger snaps. Very simple. You will need 1/3 cup of molasses, 3 teaspoons of shortening, 1 cup and 2 tablespoons of flour, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of ginger. Heat molasses to boiling point and pour over shortening. Add dry ingredients. Mix into ball. Chill and roll thin. Bake at 350 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes. We also have a little recipe for Christmas tree gingerbread. For Christmas tree gingerbread, you will need 1 cup of shortening, 1 cup of light brown sugar, 3 eggs well beaten, 1½ cups of molasses, 6 cups of bread flour, 1½ tablespoons of ground ginger, 2¼ teaspoons of salt, 1½ teaspoons of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Cream shortening and add sugar, eggs, and molasses. Sift dry ingredients and add them to the first mixture. Chill and roll out, not too thinly. Cut into shapes with cookie cutter or trace around rooster cutout with a sharp knife. Bake on flat sheets in 350-degree oven until dry but not crisp, about 15 minutes, and decorate with white frosting. So you can take this little thing and cut it out. Kind of looks like Alfred Hitchcock from the side if you just look at that. It's like, not quite, but I don't know. I just saw that part. It made me think of Alfred Hitchcock. Not really. Anyway, we also have a recipe for quick candy cookies. For quick candy cookies, you will need 2 packages of semi-sweet or butterscotch morsels, 1 cup of salted peanuts, 1 can of chow mein noodles, large can. Melt candy morsels in the top of a double boiler and stir in peanuts and chow mein noodles. Remove from heat and drop candies onto wax paper using a teaspoon. Look like an L. Allow candy to harden and it's ready to eat. And how about coconut fudge balls? To make coconut fudge balls, you will need 2½ cups of sifted confectioner's sugar, 1 3-ounce package of cream cheese at room temperature, 1/4 tablespoon of vanilla, a dash of salt, flaked coconut. Mix sugar and cream cheese with your hands until well blended. Add vanilla and salt. Shape into balls or mold and roll in coconut flakes. Chopped cherries may be added for decoration before rolling. And down here we have a little recipe for boiled cookies. I've never had a boiled cookie before. To make boiled cookies, you will need 2 cups of sugar, 1/2 cup of cocoa, 1 stick of butter or margarine, and 1/2 cup of evaporated milk. Cook above ingredients in a saucepan 2½ minutes or until thick. Add 1 cup of coconut and 3 cups of oatmeal. Stir until nearly cool. Put on wax paper with teaspoon. Up here we have a recipe for a wacky cake. A wacky cake. For a wacky cake, you will need 1½ cups of flour, 1 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 3 tablespoons of cocoa. Sift together twice, second time into ungreased cake pan. Make 3 depressions. In one, put 1/3 cup of oil or melted shortening. In another, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And in the last, 1 tablespoon of vinegar. Pour 1 cup of cold water over all and mix with fork. Bake at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. Ice with powdered sugar frosting and cut in pan. We also have a recipe for earth cookies. Earth cookies. To make earth cookies, you will need 1 stick of margarine, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1/2 cup of regular sugar, 1 egg, 1 cup of self-rising flour, 1½ cups of oatmeal, 1/2 cup of nuts, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Mix in order listed. Roll into small balls about the size of a marble and bake at 350 degrees until slightly brown. And a recipe for pineapple upside down cake. For pineapple upside down cake, you will need 6 tablespoons of shortening, 1 cup of sugar, 2 eggs, 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 3 tablespoons of baking powder, 3/4 of a cup of milk or pineapple juice. Cream shortening with sugar and add eggs. Add sifted dry ingredients alternately with milk or juice. Mix well. Preheat electric frying pan at 250 degrees until light is out. Melt 4 tablespoons of margarine in a pan. Add 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar evenly in bottom. Arrange pineapple slices from a No. 2 can over sugar mixture. Put maraschino cherry in center of each slice. Spread cake batter over fruit. Cover the pan and bake for 25 to 30 minutes. Open the cover vent the last 5 minutes to dry the surface of the cake. And we even have a recipe for peanut brittle. For peanut brittle, you will need 2 cups of sugar, 1 cup of dark Karo syrup, 2 cups of raw peanuts, 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Place sugar, syrup, and peanuts in an iron frying pan. Boil slowly until peanuts are brown, stirring constantly. Remove and stir in soda. Mix thoroughly. Put quickly on large buttered pan. And here we have a recipe for a cocoa mix. In a pan, put 5 cups of dry milk, 1 cup of dry cocoa, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 1/2 cups of sugar. Stir together. Put mix into a jar with the cover. And Cocoa Yum Yum sounds very simple. For Cocoa Yum Yum, you just need 1 cup of hot water and 1/4 cup of your cocoa mix. Heat water and add to cocoa mix. Mix well. Serves 1. And how about stir and drop oatmeal cookies? For stir and drop oatmeal cookies, the first thing you want to do is heat the oven to 375 degrees. Lightly grease a baking sheet. Stir together in bowl 1 cup of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of ginger. Add 1 cup of brown sugar packed and 1 cup of rolled oats, milk, and 1 egg. Stir in 3/4 of a cup of chopped walnuts if you like. Drop rounded teaspoonfuls about 2 inches apart on baking sheet. Bake about 10 minutes and cool on a wire rack. We have a recipe for pumpkin butter. Pumpkin butter. Use your Halloween pumpkin to make pumpkin butter on November 1st. Seed pumpkins. Cut into cubes 2 inches square. Cook until tender in small amount of water and mash to a pulp. Measure pumpkin and add half of its quantity of sugar. Example: 1 1/2 cups of sugar to 3 cups of pumpkin. Cook slowly to prevent burning. Add spices, ground cinnamon, allspice, and cloves to taste and cook until thick. Serve on toasted bread. Oh, this one looks good. This is a recipe for brown sugar brownies. And for brown sugar brownies, you need 1 3/4 sticks of margarine melted, 2 cups of brown sugar, 2 eggs, 1 cup of flour unsifted, a pinch of mace, 1 cup of chopped nuts or coconut, half a teaspoon of vanilla. Melt margarine and combine ingredients in order listed. Bake in a greased 9-inch square pan for 30 minutes at 370 degrees. Cut into squares as soon as taken from oven. Cool thoroughly before removing from pan. Up here we have a recipe for pink popcorn balls. Place in a large buttered bowl 7 cups of popped popcorn. In bottom of a double boiler, heat about 1 inch of water to boiling. Place in top part of double boiler 3 cups of miniature marshmallows, 2 tablespoons of butter, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Set over the boiling water and stir until marshmallows are melted. Tint pink by adding a few drops of red food coloring. Pour marshmallow mixture over popcorn and stir gently to coat. Grease hands well with butter and quickly shape into 10 medium-sized balls. And then we have a butterball coffee cake. To make a butterball coffee cake, the first thing you will do is heat your oven to 375 degrees. Grease a round cake pan 9 by 1.5 inches. Melt a 1/4 cup of margarine in a saucepan. Mix in a bowl 3/4 of a cup of sugar and 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. Use a can of flake biscuits. Divide a can of 10 into 20 parts. Dip each biscuit into melted margarine and then roll in the cinnamon sugar mixture. Fold over and arrange in a pan, overlapping to make a circle. Pour any leftover melted margarine over biscuits. Sprinkle biscuits with a 1/4 cup of chopped nuts. Bake 25 to 30 minutes and allow it to stand for 5 minutes before serving. Icebox sugar cookies. And for these icebox sugar cookies, you will need 1 stick of margarine at room temperature, 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1 egg beaten, 1.5 cups of self-rising flour, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Cream together margarine and sugars. Add egg and flour. Stir vanilla. Divide dough into 3 parts. Roll into a log about 1 inch in diameter. Place in refrigerator overnight. Slice and place on a greased cookie sheet. Bake at 350 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes or until golden brown. Sounds good, but this sounds even better. Marshmallow fudge. Marshmallow fudge. The first thing you will do for your marshmallow fudge is butter a 9-inch square pan. Stir in saucepan 1 can, 6 ounces, of evaporated milk, 2/3 of a cup, 1 2/3 cups of sugar, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Cook over low heat until mixture boils. Boil 3 minutes, stirring constantly. Remove from heat. Add and stir until melted 2 cups of miniature marshmallows, 1.5 packages, 6 ounces each, of semi-sweet chocolate pieces, 1.5 cups. Stir in 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 1/2 cup of chopped nuts. Pour into prepared pan. Refrigerate until firm, and then cut into squares. And we are going to stop there. The next section is breads. And then it goes from there. And we're just going to stop with the instructions and the sweets. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed reading from the Reading and Classroom Cooking little booklet. It's just a little booklet, a little well, it's not really a pamphlet, it's a booklet from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. I hope you enjoyed seeing my little Halloween peeps. I'm sure they're yummy. Thank you again so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon.